Ito ang pangunahin at pinakamalaking proyekto ng CSFI. Kami isang non-profit foundation na talagang itinatag lang ng mga misis para magkaroon kami ng isang samahan na maganda, na makakatulong din kami kahit papaano sa isang makabuluhang paraan. We have to raise our own funds, no? And that's hence we have projects like this Kabuhayan Trade Fair. So ang magiging beneficiary ng Kabuhayan Trade Fair namin ngayon ay ang mga mangingisda.
Sa Mindoro.
Yeah.
We live in interesting times for the headlines. The United States reimposes punitive measures targeting banking, oil, and shipping. Republicans and Democrats make frenzied final pushes to motivate their voters ahead of midterm elections. The country's transportation watchdog said that the Indonesian Lion Air jet that plunged into the Java Sea last week had an airspeed indicator problem on its fatal flight and on 3 previous journeys. And storms in Italy killed at least 30 people. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. And now to the news. The Trump administration has brought back sanctions on Iran targeting banking, oil, and shipping. They will directly affect companies from third countries doing business with Iran. More than 700 individuals, entities, vessels, and aircraft are now on the sanctions list, including major banks, oil exporters, and shipping companies. Washington also says it wants to stop what it calls Tehran's malign activities, including cyber attacks, ballistic missile tests, and support for violent extremist groups and militias in the Middle East.
Sanctions are very strong. They're the strongest sanctions we've ever imposed. And we'll see what happens with Iran, but they're not doing very well, I can tell you. Iran is not doing very well. It's a big difference since I've been in office. When I came to office, if you go a day before, it looked like Iran was going to take over the Middle East. It was a question of literally less than years, very quickly. And now nobody's talking about that. So we'll see what happens. But the Iran sanctions have gone into effect. They're the strongest sanctions that our country has ever issued.
Now, the sanctions could also upset world oil markets, though the U.S. has granted temporary waivers to 8 jurisdictions to continue importing Iranian oil. They're reported to include U.S. allies Italy, India, Japan, and South Korea, along with Turkey, China, and India. The U.S. sanctions are timed to coincide with the anniversary of the siege of the U.S. Embassy on November 4, 1979, which took place soon after the fall of the U.S.-backed Shah. Some 52 Americans were held hostage in the embassy for 444 days. Iran and the U.S. have been enemies ever since. Hardliners hold protests to commemorate the siege every year. But on Sunday, protesters also vented their fury about the sanctions. Meanwhile, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani, in a televised speech, said the Islamic Republic will proudly bypass sanctions by the United States that took effect on Monday, targeting the country's oil and financial sectors. Iran's economy had plenty of problems even before U.S. President Trump decided in May to abandon the 2015 nuclear deal and reimpose crippling sanctions. Most of the international firms who lined up to work in Iran after the 2015 deal have been forced to leave, including France's Total, Peugeot, and Renault, Germany's Siemens.
The reality is that, a couple of weeks ago, we had to lose some people as well. That's really heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for the people that we talk to say that, look, I'm so sorry, there is no business, and therefore, if there's no business, I cannot give you a job. Now, these young people, I mean, they're between the ages of 25 to 35. They've studied. They're excited about what they want to do in the future. Now, hope is being taken away from them. This time, we feel that we've done everything right. We've involved ourselves in the international community. We've done the steps that have been asked of us, and we've said the right things. And now, what it feels like is that we're facing a bullying tactic.
To the U.S. now in the coming midterm elections. After boasting about the economy and raising fears over immigration, U.S. President Trump is facing pushback from his predecessor Barack Obama. Obama is taking on an increasingly prominent role in the final weekend of campaigning before midterm elections. At a rally for Republican governor hopeful Brian Kemp in Macon, Georgia, President Trump strongly criticized Democratic candidate Stacey Abrams for endangering the Second Amendment right to carry a gun.
He will keep your jobs and wages rising, which is what's happening. He will provide great schools and health care for your loved ones. He's always behind our police and our law enforcement, and he will never let anything bad happen to our Second Amendment, which, believe me, is under siege. Our Second Amendment. Our Second Amendment. If Stacey Abrams gets in, your Second Amendment is gone. Stacey Abrams is one of the most extreme far-left politicians in the entire country. You know that. She wants to raise your income tax very substantially. She wants to raise your property tax very substantially, right through the roof. She supports a socialist takeover of health care, which means you will never be able to see your doctor, just like the vets never got to see their doctor, and just like President Obama, I'm going to be very nice, did not tell the truth.
Meanwhile, former President Barack Obama held a rally in Gary, Indiana for incumbent Democratic Senator Joe Donnelly.
It's an old playbook where the powerful and the privileged say whatever it takes to protect their power and their privilege. Even if it hurts the country, even when it puts people at risk. The good news is, Indiana, when you vote, you can reject that kind of politics. While they're trying to distract you with all this stuff, they're robbing you blind. They'll be like, look, 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 caravan, caravan. Then they're giving tax cuts to their billionaire friends. Look, 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 whatever the thing's scary. And then they're sabotaging your health care. You can't fall for it.
Meanwhile, President Trump has brought an unprecedented brand of confrontational politics to the White House and clearly enjoys this fight. The latest official jobs figure, which showed 250,000 net new positions in October, ahead of forecasts, gave him a golden opportunity to crow over what he almost daily claims to be the world's hottest economy.
Democrats want to turn back the clock, put America in reverse, and give power back to a corrupt, selfish ruling class that only looks for power and for themselves. But we are not going back. We are only going forward. We need you to vote for a Republican House and a Republican Senate so we can continue this incredible movement, the greatest movement in political history. This is one of the most important elections of our entire lives. This election will decide whether we build on the extraordinary prosperity that we've achieved or whether we let the radical Democrats take control of Congress and take a giant wrecking ball to our economy and to the future of our nation.
In little groups, at least 500 Central American migrants from the first caravan of thousands have arrived in Mexico's capital. Now there, they are resting at a temporary shelter in a Mexico City stadium where they say they will wait for the rest of the group to continue north. The convoy, known as a caravan, set off from Honduras several weeks ago and is now about 5,000 strong. The migrants say they're fleeing persecution, poverty, and violence in their home countries of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador.
Y claro, nuestros hijos van cansados, nuestros pies los duelen, nuestro cuerpo viene agotado. Necesitamos en donde poder dormir dignamente. Estamos durmiendo en el suelo, ahí, con frío. Hambre no, porque la verdad las cosas, la comidita siempre está ahí y siempre hay personas voluntarias que les agradecemos, pero sí necesitamos un buen descansito.
De Puebla para acá, había unos ya se los llevaron.
President Trump has said he will use the military to completely close the U.S.-Mexico border if necessary to stop the migrants crossing. He also threatened to cut aid to Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Nevertheless, many in the caravan say they plan to seek asylum in the U.S. A senior Turkish official says Saudi Arabia sent a toxicologist and a chemicals expert to Istanbul to cover up the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi before the Turkish police searched the kingdom's consulate. According to Turkey's pro-government Sabah Daily, Saudi Arabia sent an 11-member cover-up team to Istanbul on October 11, 9 days after the Washington Post contributor vanished after entering the diplomatic compound to obtain paperwork for his marriage. The paper said chemist Ahmad Abdulaziz Al-Janobi and toxicology expert Khaled Haya Al-Zarani were among the so-called investigative team, which visited the consulate every day until October 17 before leaving Turkey on October 20. Turkey's chief prosecutor said last week that Khashoggi was strangled as soon as he entered the consulate and also confirmed the body was dismembered. Yassin Aktay, an advisor to Erdogan, hinted in an article published on Friday that the body may even have been destroyed in acid. In an editorial published in the Washington Post, Erdogan said the order to murder the journalist came from the highest levels of the Saudi government, adding that he didn't believe for a second that King Salman was to blame. But he pointedly failed to absolve Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of responsibility for unleashing a death squad against the outspoken Saudi journalist. In other news, a project in Cambodia is using ground-penetrating radar to unearth clues of mass graves linked to the Khmer Rouge, the ultra-Maoist regime whose quest to build an agrarian utopia from 1975 to 79 left an estimated 2 million people dead. The pilot project is twinning technology and fieldwork to locate remains of victims of the Khmer Rouge, the ultra-Maoist regime whose quest to build an agrarian utopia from the 1975 to 1979 left an estimated 2 million Cambodians dead, hacked to death, starved, overworked, or ravaged by illness. Their bodies were dumped in hastily dug pits all over the country. They were thrown in rice paddies, down caves, and on the grounds of Buddhist monasteries.
So with our machine, we have a ground-penetrating radar. It can look under the ground, it sends signals under the ground, and the radar comes back, and different objects under the ground, or if the ground's been disturbed, it'll show us on the computer. So it won't be able to see the bones, but it'll be able to show the outline of a grave and how deep and how wide it is.
In orange and red,
many of the killing fields have been logged, providing experts with an estimate of 20,000 mass graves, which is defined as a pit containing 4 or more bodies throughout the country. In other news, parts of an engine from the ill-fated Lion airplane, which crashed into the sea, killing 189 people, are recovered during search operations in the Java Sea. Take a look. Indonesia's National Transportation Safety Committee said Lion Air Flight 610 was intact with its engines running when it crashed at a high speed into the Java Sea. Suarjanto Tanjono said that due to the small size of the debris found and loss of the plane's engine blades, investigators determined that Flight 610 did not explode in the air but was in good shape before it crashed 13 minutes after takeoff on Monday, October 29. Indonesia said it is to launch a special audit of Lion Air's operations. The budget carrier has been a regular target of complaints about poor service, unreliable scheduling, and safety issues, including a fatal 2004 crash. Civil aviation authorities in the United States and Europe were also being consulted for their help in the probe. Meanwhile, authorities have extended their search as they collect more body parts and shattered debris from the spot where the plane crashed during the routine one-hour flight from Jakarta to Pangkal Pinang. Scores of body bags filled with remains have been collected and sent for DNA testing, but so far just 14 people have been identified. Meanwhile, the country's transportation watchdog said that the Indonesian Lion Air jet that plunged into the Java Sea last week had an airspeed indicator problem on its fatal flight and on 3 previous journeys. The new details gleaned from a recovered flight data recorder come after the government said it was launching a special audit of the budget carrier's operations. A week after the disaster, there's still no answer as to what caused the crash. But the National Transportation Safety Committee said that the black box data showed the plane had an airspeed indicator issue on at least 2 other earlier flights. There were 4 flights in all that suffered a problem with the airspeed indicator, according to NTSC head Suarjanto Tanjono. When there was a problem, the pilot would write it down and the mechanic would do a repair when the plane would be declared airworthy, and then the plane would be declared airworthy. The agency said it would probe what caused the indicator problem and whether proper repairs were done, including replacing the faulty component. In other news, the U.S. and South Korea resumed combined military exercises on Monday for the first time since the trainings were suspended earlier this year. The drills, which have long been a source of irritation for North Korea, come just days before Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is set to hold high-profile nuclear talks with the pariah state. Washington is sole security ally and stations 28,500 troops in the south to protect it from its nuclear-armed neighbor. Along with the Marine drills, Seoul and Washington suspended the annual Olchi Freedom Guardian training in August involving tens of thousands of troops. As the latest sign of increasing frustration, the North's foreign ministry issued a statement on Friday threatening to resume building nuclear weapons unless U.S. ends sanctions against Pyongyang. Yonhap News Agency reports that the maritime drills, which opened Monday, will reportedly last 2 weeks in the southern Korean city of Pohang and will involve approximately 500 soldiers, including U.S. Marines stationed in Japan. They also agreed to halt the Vigilant Air Force exercises slated for December. The Iglesia Ni Cristo's worldwide aid to humanity continues in different parts of the world, this time in South Korea. Here's Christine Jewel Uy.
Members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or also known as Cristo Haekyohe in Korean language, are now holding their aid to humanity here in their chapel located in Gyeonggi-do, Ansan area. Members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo in South Korea gathered in their house of worship in Gyeonggi-do, Ansan City to hold an event which is called Aid to Humanity. This activity of the church was held in many places all over the world, aiming to reach out to those people in need and not only to the members of the church. In South Korea, This is the season where autumn ends and temperature will start to drop below 0 degrees. Especially in Seoul, many areas experience extremely low temperature. That is why members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo earlier prepare for their countrymen, especially the things that can help them protect themselves for winter season. The activity also presented a video showing the victories of the church in the whole world and how they are sharing all their victories to other non-members of the church. The guests were inspired by the dedication of the Iglesia Ni Cristo in helping and reaching out to people. They were thankful for the good deeds that the church has done and they feel the concern and the love that the church is giving for others.
Ito po ay ginagawa sa buong mundo at kaisa po ang ating distrito ng pamamahala para nang sa ganon ay labanan po ang kahirapan at makatulong po sa mga nangangailangan. Ang pagtulong po na ginagawa natin ay hindi po katulad ng pagtulong na ginagawa ng ibang organisasyon dito po sa mundo. Sapagkat ang ginagawa natin ay pagtulong hindi lamang po sa kanilang pamumuhay, kundi higit sa lahat ang lalong makatutulong sa kanilang buhay, ang kaligtasan po ng kaluluwa nila pagdating po ng araw ng pagbubuhay.
Nakakatuwa na maraming natutulungan ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay at pagtulong sa mga nangangailangan. Napanood ko sa video. Mga ni-extend help sa mga masalanta ng bagyo. So, maraming salamat at maraming natutulungan ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa pagbibigay.
This is Christine Jewel Huy, your EBC correspondent from South Korea, and I am 1 with 25.
The news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the
Fun Run, November 18, 2018, at the Ciudad de Victoria Complex, Bulacan. Choose from race categories: 1.062 kilometer, 2.5 kilometers, 5 kilometers, and 9.55 kilometers. Registration is ongoing. For more details, log on to www.eaglenews.ph/EBC Fun Run or call 784-7450, local 1162. You may also visit www.facebook.com/EBC Fun Run. EBC Family Fun Run.
This event is made possible with the participation of the following sponsors: Regent,
life's simple pleasures. Isuzu, your responsible partner. For life, together, building people. Mr. Gary Escobar. Salon Pass by Hisamitsu Philippines. RY Graphics and Print, and in partnership with Maligaya Development Corporation and Philippine Red Cross.
The machine is back at it. Gun.
Welcome back. China has promised to further cut import tariffs and open its economy. In a speech at a Shanghai Trade Expo, President Xi Jinping addressed criticisms that its trade practices are unfair. He also made a robust defense of the global free trade system, which he said was under attack. Let's listen in.
This is indeed an innovation in history of global trade. It is an important decision made by China to pursue a new round of high standard opening up. It is also China's major initiative to still widen its market access for the rest of the world. It demonstrates China's consistent position of supporting the multilateral trading system and promoting free trade. The history of trade and economic cooperation testifies to the law that economies make progress together through exchange and interconnectivity while falling behind because of seclusion and closeness. Efforts to reduce tariff barriers and open wider will lead to interconnectivity in economic cooperation and global trade, while the practices of beggaring thy neighbor, isolation and seclusion will only result in trade stagnation and an unhealthy world economy. Countries need to pursue an open policy, explicitly oppose protectionism and unilateralism, and strive to enhance the level of opening up at both multilateral and bilateral levels, so that we could make our economies interconnected and build an open world economy.
The Shanghai International Import Expo is China's attempt to show the world, and especially the U.S., that its economy is opening up more. The week-long event aims to give a multi-billion-dollar boost to imports. Organizers say more than 3,000 foreign companies from 130 countries, including the U.S. and Europe, are present, including General Motors, Ford, Microsoft, Samsung, Walmart, and Tesla. Meanwhile, a total of 57 Filipino exhibitors are taking part in this first China International Import Expo in Shanghai in hopes of striking deals with Chinese buyers. Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez is leading the Philippine delegation in the CIIE. According to Lopez, the Philippines was provided one national pavilion and close to 50 booths. 36 Philippine exhibitors presented their goods and services in the CIIE Enterprise Zone, including 28 food exhibitors, 5 consumer goods exhibitors, and 3 from tourism and service outsourcing exhibitors. 11 universities as well as 10 partner agencies and companies are also conducting their own exhibitions at the Philippine Pavilion. The Department of Labor and Employment's new 25 peso wage hike for workers in Metro Manila is enough but still subject to change, according to Malacanang. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this remark when sought for a comment on the DOLE's new wage order, where minimum wage earners in Metro Manila will receive an additional 25 pesos, making the minimum salary from 512 to 537 in the non-agriculture sector. According to DOLE, 3 regional wage boards, including the Regional Tripartite Productivity and Wages Board National Capital Region, issued new wage orders ranging from 10 to 25 pesos across different sectors in the region. Panelo said he found the wage hike reasonable enough, but noted that economic conditions could either decrease or increase the wage hike.
There has been deliberation on the wage board, and apparently that's the decision. So let's see.
Yes.
Perhaps as of presently, that is what they found out. That's enough. But I guess it's always subject to change, depending on the economic conditions.
Aside from Metro Manila, RTE PBS2 or Cagayan Valley and 4B Mimaropa also issued new wage orders raising daily minimum wage from 10 to 20 pesos. In Region 2, the board approved a 10 pesos per basic wage increase and 10 pesos per day COLA last October 22. Upon the effectivity of wage order, the new daily minimum wage rates will range from 320 to 360 pesos across different sectors. Meanwhile, President Duterte led the inauguration of the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PITEX. The facility, which is the first integrated and multimodal terminal in the southwestern part of Metro Manila, will serve as transfer point between the provincial buses of Cavite and Batangas, as well as in city modes of transportation. It will also provide interconnectivity between different transport modes and services that will ensure efficient and seamless travel for commuters. Located along the coastal road, the PITEX is expected to reduce the number of provincial buses plying Metro Manila, especially on Taft Avenue, Pasay, and EDSA, once it is operational. The PITEX will host modern facilities such as comfortable seating spaces in waiting areas, free Wi-Fi access, drinking water stations, travelers' workstation areas, charging points, locker facilities, and telephone booths. The terminal also features a state-of-the-art bus reservation and online booking with seat selection options and an advanced ticketing system with centralized ticketing counters and 50 automated ticketing kiosks. Park ride facilities and maintenance areas for minor repairs of vehicles are also available for the convenience of drivers. The terminal building has 3 levels: departure bay for buses, jeepneys, and taxis at the ground floor, arrival bays for buses at the 2nd floor, and private vehicle facilities such as parking spaces, AUV bays, and a connection to the proposed LRT-1 extension project at the 3rd floor. 5 floors of premier office spaces will be available for lease. The PITEX has a maximum daily capacity of 100,000 passengers and peak hour passenger volume of 4,380 arrivals and 3,808 departures. Trips per day are approximately 1,060 arrivals and 949 departures. It'll also house 59 bays for provincial and city buses, 49 bays for UV Express and jeepneys, and 852 car parking slots.
So itong PITEX na ito dito magsisimula at magtatapos din yung mga bus routes natin going Cavite, Batangas area. So andyan yung mga Dasmariñas na biyahe, yung Naik, Tansa, Kawit. Andyan po tayo, dito sila magtatapos and sila ipipick upin din ng mga city buses going inside the Metro Manila. And kita mo naman yung meron tayong centralized ticketing booth. So yung mga pasahero hindi magbabayad sa konduktor kundi sa centralized ticketing system natin. May mga turnstile gates, hindi ka pwedeng pumasok dun sa loading area ng bus kung hindi yung pa-turn na pumasok sa bus. Yung mga city buses naman, kailangan din natin silang papuntahin dito sa lugar natin para naman lahat ng pasahero ma-pick up na itong nag-terminate na mga provincial bus natin na this week, no, after ng launch ni Presidente, na this week fully operational na itong PTEX. May mga inaayos lang tayo ng mga requirements ng Cavitex, no, tsaka MMDA with regards to traffic management.
The Japanese electronics firm Murata Manufacturing plans to invest 40 million pesos or 40 billion pesos to expand its operations in the country, according to Philippine Economic Zone Authority or PEZA Director General Charito Plaza. Plaza said Murata targets to construct new manufacturing buildings to produce new products and were projected to create 6,000 more jobs. But she noted the Japanese firm is still waiting for the clear rules on tax perks, as the government is rationalizing the fiscal incentives it provided to businesses. According to PEZA, Murata's CO operations or S10 operations in the country involve manufacturing of chip monolithic ceramic capacitors with annual sales of 5.65 billion pesos. It currently employs 2,984 personnel in its facilities in Laguna Techno Park in Santa Rosa and in First Philippine Industrial Park in Tanawan, Batangas. It has 97 subsidiaries across the globe, including 31 in Japan and 66 in other parts of the world. Japan SoftBank Group said it logged an 8-fold jump in net profit in the 6 months to September thanks to strong returns from its investment funds. Net profit rose to 840 billion yen or $7.4 billion from 103 billion yen during the same period last year. The Japanese mobile giant and its IT investors said the rise was largely driven by gains of 649 billion yen from the SoftBank Vision Fund, which compared to 194 billion yen in the previous period. Under Tycoon CEO Masayoshi Son's SoftBank, which started as a software firm, has increasingly been seen as an investment firm, plowing funds into a broad range of companies and projects of outside its core business. In recent years, it has completed deals with the likes of French robotics firm Albaran and Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba. Nearly half of the money in the SoftBank Vision Fund comes from Saudi Arabia, and there has been a pledge of another $45 billion this year. But Son was missing from a high-profile Saudi investment forum last month, along with dozens of global business titans amid concerns that journalist Jamal Khashoggi may have been killed in the Saudi consulate in Turkey. The company's ties with the Middle Eastern kingdom have been put into sharp relief with the Khashoggi scandal, and SoftBank shares dropped sharply when the news broke. Environment News is up next. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila-Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
age-appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all. Oops, rated PG. Dapat may mga magulang para sagutin ang mga tanong ng kabataan.
Grabe, rated SPG, maselan!
Itan ang paggabay.
Pag rated MTRCB, rated responsable.
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Angeles and this is Environment News. Here's a before and after image showing the extent of Delhi's winter air pollution. 14 of the world's top 15 cities with the dirtiest air are in India, according to the World Health Organization. Each year around November, the Indian capital's air quality reaches hazardous levels as cooler air traps pollutants close to the ground. And farmers burn their fields across large swaths of northern India. Children, the elderly, and those with respiratory ailments like asthma suffer the most from Delhi's hazardous smog, which does not lift until around late February. Exposure to toxic air kills hundreds of thousands of children every year, the WHO said in an October report. Children breathe more rapidly than adults, taking twice as much polluted air into their tiny bodies. It has devastating effects on children in Delhi, says doctors who see it firsthand. Air pollution is killing around 4 million people every year in the Asia-Pacific region, according to a UN report released on Monday. The UN Environment in Geneva launched on Monday a report called Air Pollution in Asia and the Pacific Science-Based Solutions, which outlines 25 air pollution measures that can save millions of lives every year and slow down climate change. In total, approximately 7 million people worldwide die prematurely each year from air-polluted related diseases, according to the UN. The reductions in outdoor air pollution could reduce premature mortality in the region by 1/3 and help avoid about 2 million premature deaths from indoor air pollution. World Health Organization estimates show that air pollution is responsible for up to 1/3 of deaths from heart attack, stroke, lung cancer, and chronic respiratory disease.
Air pollution kills 7 million people each year. Around the world, 9 out of 10 people breathe air that has been polluted by traffic emissions, industry, agriculture, and waste incineration. About 3 billion people continue to use smoky, polluting stoves and fuels inside their homes for cooking and heating. Our latest estimates are that up to 1/3 of deaths from heart attack, stroke, lung cancer, and chronic respiratory disease are due to air pollution. No one escapes from the womb to the grave. Some of our children will not reach their full potential because of exposure to air pollution in the womb and in early life. Some of our parents will die early because of exposure to it throughout their lives. And in many parts of the world, it's getting worse.
The WHO says that as many as 9 in 10 people globally are breathing polluted, toxic air. A new report titled Air Pollution in Asia and the Pacific Science-Based Solutions, launched Monday by the UN Environment in Geneva, outlines 25 air pollution measures that can save millions of lives and slow down climate change.
If we take the World Health Organization guideline of 10 micrograms per meter cubed of small particles, PM2.5, only 8% of the population of Asia currently is breathing that clean air. So 92% are breathing air higher than this, which is health damaging. So air pollution is really high, especially in some parts of Asia. It's very high and having a big impact on human health. If we implement clean cooking solutions, going to modern fuels like electricity or LPG gas, then we could reduce the number of premature deaths by 2 million per year if it's all implemented by 2030. In addition, we're talking about 800,000 to 900,000 reduced premature deaths from outdoor exposure to outdoor air pollution, particulate matter. Rather than using coal to produce electricity and then having to put a filter on the end, it's more shifting towards renewable energy, and then rather than having a Euro 6 car based on petrol or diesel, then you would move to electric cars. So this third group, which includes public transport, improved public transport, is more measures which give a multiple development benefits, but also improves air quality and significantly reduces climate change.
Rescue services say floods have killed 12 people on the southern island of Sicily, 9 of them from the same family, taking the week's toll across Italy past 30. Watch this.
Devo dire è la prima volta, ci sono 9 persone morte, non è una bella situazione, una cosa inaspettata fra l'altro perché neanche ha piovuto tanto a Casteldaccia.
The bodies of 9 people were found in their house in Casteldaccia in the Palermo region, next to a small river which had burst its banks. Rescue services said among the victims was a 1-year-old baby and children aged 3 and 15. 3 other members of the same family managed to escape, one of them by climbing a tree. 6 Italian regions remain on high alert for storms. Italy has been hit by a series of deadly storms over the past week, especially in the north and around Venice. They have claimed more than 30 lives in all, including the Sicily deaths, and caused massive damage and disruption. Trees covering the mountains in the Dolomites range were reduced to matchsticks, flattened by winds that tore through the Veneto region on Thursday. The canal city of Venice on Italy's northeast coast has also experienced some of its worst flooding ever, as well as to withstand winds of up to 180 kilometers an hour. Italy's Civil Protection Agency has described the weather lashing the country this week as one of the most complex meteorological situations of the past 50 to 60 years. Tsunamis claimed more than 250,000 lives in the last 20 years, compared with a fewer than 1,000 in the previous 2 decades, UN researchers said on Friday in a call to build back better after natural disasters. On World Tsunami Awareness Day on November 5, on Monday, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction highlighted the dangers and huge economic losses caused by tidal wave events, notably for Indian and Pacific Ocean countries. Since 1998, tsunamis alone have cost $280 billion in economic losses, the UN office said, noting that one single event was responsible for more than 19,000 deaths and more than $228 billion in losses, the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami in 2011. In the 20 years after 1978, losses were under $3 billion globally. In an appeal to help vulnerable communities better protect themselves from natural disasters, UNISDR also called for greater awareness of the fact that catastrophic damage caused makes it more challenging to eradicate global poverty. Now it's time for some trivia. Which of these bodies of water was once called the Inhospitable Sea? Is it the Black Sea, the Caribbean Sea, or the Mediterranean Sea? The answer is the Black Sea. It was called the Inhospitable before Greek colonization because it was difficult to navigate and because its shores were inhabited by savage tribes. Now the Black Sea was once known as the Inhospitable Sea, is where the oldest intact shipwreck ever found was recently discovered. Take a look.
we have discovered fantastic evidence for seafaring in the Black Sea since probably the 5th century AD up until the 19th century. We have over around 40 sailing vessels that are preserved in a fantastic way.
There are ships down there that have never been seen apart from in murals and paintings and in books. And these are the first time they have been seen since they were
And now we've had a complete vessel with the mast still standing, with the quarter rudders in place. It is an incredible find, the first of its kind ever.
In the pitch-black night, fires burn alongside a river in Japan's Gifu as a handful of men prepare for a ritual that dates back over 1,300 years, fishing with cormorants. Watch this.
朝一番に、大体僕はここへ入って1羽ずつを直接手に持って、持つことで、その1羽ずつの鵜の特徴を分かってますので、それで鵜の健康状態、大体の健康状態、体調を自分の中で、調べるというか、その共に生活している鵜だからこそ、実際に川へ行って鵜飼いもできるというふうに思ってますので、これが他の鵜匠さんの家の鵜を使ってでは多分僕はようやることはできないと思いますので。
And that is all for me. I'm Jeffrey Anglis and I'm 1 with 25. Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated is known as one of the most specialized centers in medical services, backed by several experienced physicians in Chinese medicine. At an accuracy rate of 98%, countless patients who visited Manila Beijing Medical Associated Incorporated have already been treated and cured.
Marami po ospital na napuntahan, pero wala ring nangyayari. Somebody introduced me to Manila Beijing Medical Associated. After 2 treatments, gumanda ang pakiramdam ko.
My friends introduced me Manila Beijing Medical Associated, and luckily, I got cured. So I sincerely want to thank
More help coming from the Iglesia Ni Cristo's Worldwide Aid to Humanity. This time, the beneficiaries are several food banks in Canada. Here's our Canada Bureau's Sabir Mufti.
Today, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation continues to extend help to the poor, especially to those affected by disasters and calamities. Its project, called Aid to Humanity, aims to assist government services by reaching out to shelters, centers, and community food banks. This weekend, through to the end of October, the FYM Foundation and the Church of Christ are handing food donations to communities in need.
Like all big cities, the government does its best to provide assistance and support to the populace's various economic issues. For example, the rising cost of housing units, especially here in Canada's largest city, Toronto, where affordability has become more of a concern for more and more people, meaning non-for-profit organizations are playing more of a key role to not only reach out, but to help out. That's why today, members of the Church of Christ is doing its part to do more. Under the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, they are reaching out to various food banks all over the city, such as Flemington Community, the Daily Bread, the North York Harvest, and here in Scarborough Center for Healthy Communities, where they're providing immediate relief by donating food to help those in need.
So we would be taking all of these items that you guys brought in today. They'll be going into our market space to help us serve more families than we normally do, and also being able to offer them more items than we could without those donations. So right now we estimate that we serve roughly 300 clients a week, and those are only the clients coming into the food bank. We estimate roughly 1,200 mouths that we actually feed within a week. Very, 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 very important to get donations from our community, because especially during the summertime, donations tend to drop a little bit. So when we have more donations coming in, we're able to provide more supports to our families.
Now, on behalf of the Church of Christ, Iglesia Ni Cristo, under the leadership of our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, we happily donate these food so that may be of help to those who are in need in our community. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, the Felix Manalo Foundation, for donating this food to us. They have been a great help. In just this year, in the beginning of the year, in February, they have donated about 14,000 pounds of food, and today they donated about 3,000 pounds of food. So thank you so much.
Thank you. May that help.
A month ago, 6 tornadoes struck the Ottawa and Gatineau areas, affecting thousands of residents. Homes were destroyed and many lost power and food. The Felix Y. Manalo Foundation continues its Aid for Humanity outreach program from Gatineau to Kinburn and Dunrobin, areas affected by the tornado. Today, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation reaches out to the Ottawa Food Bank to deliver food donations and winter care packages.
So after the tornado, the Ottawa Food Bank had 11 food banks that lost all of their power, which means they lost all of their fresh food. So we immediately went into those communities providing food directly to those who had lost power and were out of their homes. Receiving donations such as the one that we're receiving from your organization will help replenish our shelves here now that we've sent out so much food. We just want to share our sincere thanks to your organization for such an incredible donation and such incredible support. I know that this isn't the first time you've done this for us, and we're just really grateful to receive this food today and know that it will go into the community immediately to help those who are most in need.
We are here in the western tip of Ontario, Canada, in the town of Leamington, where the FYM, or Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, has gathered and reached out their hands to many migrant workers, seasonal farmhands, and local residences to provide well-stocked winter care packages to show love and kindness and their care to their fellow man, but all the more to show true Canadian hospitality.
And held our Lingap Pamamahayag, or Aid for Humanity Evangelical Mission in Leamington, and there were 61 people who benefited from it. And not only that they received care packages, they also listened to the words of God. And with God's help, 56 of them signed up for Bible study.
To help those seasonal workers that happen to also work on farms, just like our brethren. They have come from far and wide, whether it be the Philippines, whether it be Mexico or even Cambodia, just to be with us this evening in the hope that they can meet their needs of their daily life. On behalf of 3 locales, we were able to prepare winter accessories, especially in preparation for the upcoming winter, which includes toques, mittens, and we also have given them a hand towel for work while they are in their farms. We also included toothbrushes, which is in accordance with their hygiene accessories, and canned goods.
So this food that we're receiving right now is going to benefit them. A lot of them right now are immigrants that are coming into the country. We have a lot of them coming in right now. To thank Church of Christ for this generous donation. I mean, it is a lot of food that you guys are giving to us. It'll benefit a lot of people, and it'll keep our supply plentiful and keep everybody happy.
In Niagara Falls, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation reaches out to Project Share Services to extend their helping hand to families and residents who live below the poverty line. The Iglesia Ni Cristo, or the Church of Christ members, are adhering to the immediate needs of the community.
Members of the Church of Christ supported this 2-week food drive with thousands of boxes of food essentials and items like canned fish and meat, canned vegetables and fruits, cereals, dry pasta, legumes, peanut butter, rice, baby diapers and baby food, and formula donated.
Reporting from the Aid to Humanity in Ontario, Canada, with Marco Zurito in Toronto, Ray Mangajas in Leamington, Ira Apuyan in Niagara, I am Sabir Mufti in Ottawa, 1 with 25.
Thanks, Canada Bureau, and that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Eagle News International, I'm Alma Angeles, always 1 with 25. Good night.